Hello everyone. In this presentation titled Rain Man, Autism and Stereotypes, I will be exploring how films portray individuals with autism. I want to thank Professor Daniel Ante Contreras for his help with this research. In the film Rain Man, which was produced in 1988 by director Barry Levinson, Raymond is an adult who has autism and Savant Syndrome. Raymond goes on a cross-country trip with his long-lost brother Charlie. Charlie finds Raymond after their father dies and only leaves Raymond inheritance money. Out of frustration, Charlie kidnaps Raymond from his assisted living facility in an attempt to receive some of the inheritance money by negotiating with Raymond's doctor, who controls the funds. Before I begin critiquing the film, I want to acknowledge that Raymond was one of the first films produced that had a main character with a developmental disability. It helped spread awareness of autism, which was a widely unknown disability before this film was released. In that regard, this film made a positive impact on the world. However, since the film introduced autism into society, it also created many of the false stereotypes of the developmental disability that still exist today. In this presentation, I will argue that texts with characters who have autism help create and foster stereotypical views of developmental disabilities. In the film Rain Man, Raymond is portrayed as Helpless, a side character, and represents an exclusively white and successful stereotype of autism. To begin with, individuals with autism are commonly portrayed as incapable of completing daily tasks. This stereotype was ignited by Rain Man, as Raymond is consistently getting into trouble, which only his brother can fix. Throughout the film, Raymond is presented as helpless and dependent. During one of the many stops during the road trip, Raymond attempts to go shopping for clothes without his brother's supervision. As Raymond crosses the street, the crosswalk sign changes to read, "Do not walk." Instead of quickly getting to the other side, Raymond freezes in the middle of the road, adhering to the rules of the crosswalk sign. As a result, the car drivers get mad at Raymond, and one driver gets out of their car. Raymond is about to get into a street fight when his brother comes and saves him. Here is a clip of the scene.
You ain't gonna move, I'll move you. Hey, buddy, hey, you're gonna get run over out here.
Hey,
come on, you're gonna get hurt. Come on. Hey, you hear me? Hey, move it.
Hey, no, it's all right, sir. I'm sorry, he's dramatic. Raymond?
Yeah.
Raymond, come on.
Get
Come on, it's all right.
Gotta get Kmart. Gotta get to Kmart.
Raymond, come on.
Kmart. 400 Polk Street.
Yes.
So said don't walk.
Yes, it's broken.
Said don't walk.
This clip portrays the stereotype that individuals with autism are vulnerable. Autism is a very diverse disability and impacts each individual in a different way. However, in texts such as Rain Man, autistic characters are always portrayed as helpless, helping foster this negative stereotype. In the article Disability and Narrative, author Michael Berube argues that texts with main characters who have a developmental disability attempt to make the character appear vulnerable and helpless. Berube explains that the portrayal of characters with disabilities is designed to create certain emotions within the audience when he writes, "Scholars in disability studies are right to point out that literary representations of people with disabilities often serve to mobilize pity or horror in a moral drama that has nothing to do with the actual experience of disability." In this text, Raymond's helplessness serves as a barrier to accurately representing autism. Raymond being portrayed as vulnerable creates a sense of pity within the viewers, which aids the false idea that society should feel bad for individuals with autism. This representation that characters with autism are dependent is not added into the film in order to portray the disability, but rather to create another dimension of emotion within the viewer through the portrayal of pity for Raymond. Being portrayed as helpless is not only inaccurate, but also creates emotions that help maintain stereotypical views. Furthermore, characters with autism are often built into the plot as the side character. In Rain Man, the plot largely focuses on the perspective of Charlie. It demonstrates the struggles that Charlie has to go through in order to adapt to his new situation. However, it fails to address Raymond's perspective on all the events going on around him, which helps foster the side character stereotype. In the article Punching Up the Story, Disability and Film, author Nicole Markotic writes that characters with developmental disabilities commonly serve as a side character designed to represent the flaws of the main character. In addition, Markotic describes how characters with developmental disabilities are viewed as side characters in order to remind the audience of the wholeness of both the main character and the audience themselves. This further aids in negatively signaling out characters with developmental disabilities. Markotic states that films are able to signal out characters with disabilities through treating them differently when she writes, "These regimes constitute what disability activists call an ableist ideology, one that differentiates bodies by categories of able and less able, visibility and invisibility, handicapped and normal." In Raymond represents his brother's failure to establish long-term relationships with people through Raymond's own failure to connect with people on a personal level. When characters with developmental disabilities are only placed in films for the purpose of symbolizing flaws, they will consistently be viewed as less than the main character. Furthermore, at the end of the film, it is clear that Charlie has grown as an individual through his new gained ability to form more structured relationships with people. However, Raymond displays very little growth throughout the film, which in turn creates the idea that he is a supporting character. The film focuses on and displays the development of Charlie while ignoring Raymond. In addition, this can create a shield of invisibility over Raymond's story. This helps establish a stereotype that individuals with autism cannot undergo personal development or grow from personal experiences. Next, characters with autism are commonly portrayed as successful white men. In Raymond, who is a white man, also gains success through the large amount of money he received from his father's inheritance, which makes him appear wealthy. In addition, Raymond is able to earn a lot of money by continuing counting cards at a casino in Las Vegas, which further allows him to gain an image of success. In the article Autism, Rhetoric, and Whiteness, author Paul Heilicher argues that developmental disabilities, specifically autism, are portrayed as one-dimensional disabilities. A disability which is portrayed as one-dimensional is represented through one specific gender, race, economic status, etc. Heilicher describes how autism is often associated with success due to there being many famous individuals who are thought to have had autism. As Heilicher writes, success is associated with masculine, middle/upper class, and white. In the film Rain Man, this stereotype is never challenged. While Raymond may not be overtly successful, his wealth and large wins at a casino in Las Vegas allow him to achieve this image of success. This in turn helps build a white male identity of autism. In reality, autism is a very diverse disability, unlike the way the film portrays it. This stereotype has an even greater impact on other aspects of society. For instance, healthcare for white individuals with autism is often of higher quality, and white individuals get diagnosed with autism earlier in life than minority individuals with autism. Autistic characters in texts are almost exclusively white and successful. Furthermore, the addition of Savant Syndrome furthers to this idea of success. Raymond has Savant Syndrome, which gives him special abilities. In the film, Raymond is able to calculate answers to extremely challenging mathematical questions. In addition, in one scene, a waitress spills a box of toothpicks, and Raymond is able to count how many toothpicks fell out. However, only 10% of autistic individuals have Savant Syndrome. Many characters with autism in text also have Savant Syndrome, because success is also commonly associated with intelligence. In the book Representing Autism Culture, Narrative, Fascination, author Stuart Murray explores how autism is illustrated in culture. Murray describes how Raymond created a false narrative that autism and Savant Syndrome have to be together when he writes, "Autism is introduced in Raymond as being a condition twinned with savantism, a pairing that has had considerable consequences for the majority of representations of the condition in the years since the film was made." In Raymond's Savant Syndrome is not treated as another disability, but rather an extension of autism. As a result, the viewers are likely to associate being extremely intelligent as an aspect of autism, not of Savant Syndrome. In Raymond, the Savant Syndrome almost fails to exist, but is rather just a part of autism itself. In many other texts, characters with autism are portrayed as having special abilities, which likely means that they have Savant Syndrome. This failure to address that Savant Syndrome is not very common in individuals with autism, along with there being no differentiation between Autism, and Savant Syndrome helps foster the stereotype created by Rain Man that all individuals with autism have Savant Syndrome. Rain Man created and maintained stereotypes about individuals with autism. The inaccurate portrayal of autistic individuals through Raymond helps maintain this false idea that individuals with autism are helpless, lack personal growth, and are exclusively white and successful. This stereotyping is dangerous in society as it leads to false and inaccurate images of individuals with developmental disabilities that can impact other aspects of society like healthcare. While Raymond helped bring awareness about autism in society, it also helped introduce many stereotypes about the disability. Here is my works cited page. Thank you very much for listening.